I started lifting in 2013. That's when I did my first powerlifting competition. I didn't have a coach at the time. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. But even from that first day, I realized that I'd found something that I really enjoyed doing and that I wanted to persist at and pursue for quite a while. But even then, I had no idea the trajectory that my life would go on and how much my life would be changed due to powerlifting. Fast forward 7 years, it's 2020, and I've since competed in nearly 30 powerlifting competitions, 4 world championships, 4 Oceanias, I think 6, maybe 7 nationals. I've meet directed 10, including 1 Open Nationals. I've competed raw and equipped. I've since opened a powerlifting specific gym. I coached dozens of people in person and online. And I've coached hundreds through powerlifting competitions, from first timers, beginners, right up to world championship level, breaking world records. Powerlifting has truly been something that has formed a huge part of my life, a huge part of my identity for the last 7 or so years. And I feel, I guess, eternally indebted to powerlifting, and I'm very fortunate, I guess, to be able to work with people, to be able to help people through the journey that I went through. One of my favorite groups of people to work with are juniors, because when I started, I was 20 years old at my first competition, and I was a young kid that knew nothing. And so when I get to work with juniors, I kind of see myself a little bit in their shoes, and it's kind of like this weird perspective where I'm looking at them and remembering what it was like for me when I knew nothing. And to be able to take these young guys and girls on this journey that I went on is something that's really special to me. I often find myself repeating the same things to the various juniors that I coach, trying to get the same message, trying to, mentor them in a certain way. So I thought today what I would do is share with you 10 things that every junior lifter needs to hear. Okay, so my first point is that your lifting career does not end once you become an open. A lot of juniors kind of get sucked into this mentality, I know I did as well, of wanting to maximize your gains in the short term, as a junior, because once you turn 23, it's all over. And that's certainly not the case. One thing I often hear from juniors is something like, oh, I'm 21, so I've only got 2 years left. And I, kind of like, what do you mean you've only got 2 years left? Yeah, you've got 2 years left as a junior, but are you going to stop lifting? Is that your plan, to just quit lifting at 23? Of course not. You have intentions, you have plans to continue competing for a long time, don't you? So in that case, stop trying to think about maximizing your ability now and think, how am I going to be the best version of myself when I'm 27, when I'm 29, when I'm 35? Because that's when you're going to be at your strongest. Making long-term sacrifices for short-term gain is so stupid. So try to, zoom out and look at your career from this kind of like further back perspective and realize that it's not all over once you turn 23. My second point is that you should try to have an identity that's outside of powerlifting. A lot of powerlifters, a lot of junior lifters devote themselves so heavily into their lifting because it's often the kind of first thing that they've encountered as an adult that they can really identify, that they can really go like, wow, like this is me. I'm a powerlifter. Their Instagram bio becomes competitive 74 kilo lifter, max lift, XYZ. Your whole identity centers around this one thing, but when that one thing is taken away from you, due to injury, due to coronavirus, due to whatever it might be, all of a sudden your entire identity is shattered. Instead, I would implore you to maintain other aspects of your identity. If you're a student, take pride in being a student, take pride in being a law student or being a carpenter apprentice or whatever it might be. If you've got other hobbies, try to maintain them. Try to maintain friendship groups outside of lifting and realize that lifting isn't the only thing that exists in the world, and you can be more than that. When you go to dinner with people, when you socialize, don't just talk about lifting. You should try to have another, part of your identity. You should have another dimension to your life that isn't just powerlifting. One thing that saddens me is when I'm socializing with people and all they can do is talk about their lifts and their max and their training, and I'm like, okay, cool. Do you have any other hobbies? What else do you do? And they don't really have much more to say. So, I don't want that to be you because when like I said, when your entire identity centers around this one thing that is lifting, you become like dimensionless, and you really put yourself at risk of putting all your eggs in one basket. And when that thing gets taken away from you, it can be really difficult to handle. So try to have other things in your life that you enjoy, that you do, and that form part of your identity. Okay, point number 3 is that I would encourage you again to find yourself a coach or a mentor. If it's not a formal coach, then at least a mentor or some sort of training group to surround yourself with. As a junior lifter, you have a lot to learn, you have a lot to experience, and the best way to, I guess, learn and grow, develop, prosper is to have someone guiding you. Ideally a coach, someone that not only just writes your training programs, but can answer questions, can teach you, can guide you. But if not, then yeah, like I said, a mentor, someone who you can ask questions from, who can teach you about lifting, who can teach you about what it means to train hard, or a training group at least. And this will really add, I guess, a layer of enjoyment to your lifting. I know some people are, I guess, for lack of a better word, like an introvert, or they prefer to be a lone wolf. But even someone who doesn't take a lot of energy from social settings will benefit heavily from having someone or some small group of people from whom they can interact with and really draw some enjoyment out of their lifting from. So find yourself a coach, find yourself someone to learn from for both a learning and development point of view, but as well from an enjoyment point of view. Okay, my 4th point is that cutting weight is stupid. I know this is a funny thing to hear from me, as I was for a long time considered to be the weight cutting guru, I guess. But as a junior, especially, cutting weight to make weight classes is doing you more harm than good. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. And cutting weight excessively as a junior lifter has really hindered my long-term career. When you're young, when you're under 23, especially as a male, this is the most anabolic you'll ever be in your whole entire life. I'm only 27, but I'm already feeling the slowing effects of recovery, of anabolism that I had compared to when I was 20. And to waste that period cutting away and trying to stay light is only doing more harm than good. This kind of ties back to my first point about trying to think more long term, not trying to max yourself out as a junior. I know that cutting weight will make you more competitive possibly, but if you want to be competitive long term, if you want to be the best version of yourself that you can be, you have to put on weight, you have to get bigger, you have to get stronger, you have to put on muscle. And that's only going to happen if you eat and if you maintain a certain level of body weight, a certain level of body fat. It's very hard to put on weight put on muscle when you're 6% body fat. So try not to cut weight. Of course, there are going to be exceptions. If you're going for a record, a junior record, or something like that, then of course there are exceptions to every rule or recommendation. But unless you have a really good reason for it, don't cut weight. Instead, get bigger and get stronger, and you can cut weight later when you're a bit older, when you're a bit stronger, when you've got a lot more muscle. Okay, my 5th point is you are at the peak of Mount Stupid. What do I mean by this? Many of you will have heard the psychological phenomenon, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's basically a relationship between ability or experience in one field compared to your confidence in that field. And what happens is that in the early phases of your experience and knowledge, you become really confident. You start to think that you know everything. And I know this happened to me big time, as sad it is to admit. When I was 21, 22, 23, I thought I knew everything there was to know about lifting. I thought I had it all figured out, that my methods were the best methods, and that I knew everything there was to know about technique. And it's only been in the last 4-5 years, as I've learned a little bit more, I'm starting to realize, holy shit, there is so much to lifting that I just don't understand. Not only to training, but to nutrition, to psychology, to all these kind of fields. And by definition, as a junior, you are early in your lifting career. Even if you're 23, at most you'll have maybe 5 or 6 years of experience, and you still have so much to learn. But odds are you have less than that. So you need to realize that you do not know as much as you think you do, and I would encourage you heavily to listen with an open ear to those that have come before you, to those that are older than you, that have more experience than you. Listen to what they have to say and learn from them. This ties back to what I said before about having a coach or at least a mentor, is that the only way you're going to learn is to hear what other people have to say. Obviously, you can do your own research online, reading videos, watching videos reading articles, watching videos like this. But appreciate that you don't have it all figured out as much as you'd like to believe that you do. You do have a lot to learn, And in order to learn, you're going to have to listen, read, and be open-minded enough to take on new pieces of information to change your mind. Okay, point number 6 is to prioritize, focus on, and really work on your form and technique in your big lifts. This is something that I feel like I did pretty well actually, and has benefited me greatly long term, and that it was to really focus on and prioritize learning how to lift correctly. When you're learning a new skill, when you're learning something that's novel, it's often quite easy to pick up, and the habits that you form early on stick with you for a really long amount of time. Conversely, if you learn things badly or if you form bad habits, they're very hard to override and to change once you're older and once you've been doing them for a long time. So as a junior, you're, I guess, in the prime position to learn and improve your technique, and that's what you should really be trying to prioritize. And what that means is avoiding really hard sets in the main lifts, avoiding doing RP9, RP10 sets too often. Of course, there comes a time in your program where you're going to have to do that kind of training, really hard training, but have a large portion of your training, in the RP 5, 6, in the 3, 4, 5 reps left in reserve kind of range, so you can focus on your technique and you can improve, you can apply yourself in a technical sense, and you can get better with your technique and with your movement, because it's going to serve you a lot long term. Okay, point number 7 is you have to respect your training. A lot of people lift for many different reasons, compete in powerlifting for many different reasons. For some people, it's an escape from the office, from their studies. It's somewhere where they can go in and focus on themselves and really improve. For others, it's a social thing. They get to hang out with their mates, train with their friends, meet new people, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But one thing that we all have in common is that we're training because we want to improve. We want to get stronger. We want to hit a new PB. And if you want to do that, you have to respect your training. You have to put in energy, effort, focus, and for lack of a better word, sacrifice. It takes a lot of mental energy to bring yourself up to train hard. When you're tired after a full day of study or a full day of work, it can take a lot of physical energy, obviously, to get through your training. It can take a lot of discipline to eat correctly and to sleep well. It can take a lot from you to train hard and to get the best from your training. But if you want to improve, you have to respect your training. That doesn't mean taking training, so seriously, being so regimented. But it does mean focusing on your training and trying to get the best out of every training session. Really respecting your warm-ups, respecting your work sets, respecting the advice and the recommendations of your training partners and your coaches and your mentors. If you really want to improve, if you really want to maximize your ability and your potential in the sport, you have to respect your training. Okay, my 8th point is don't take training too seriously. This kind of ties back to what I said earlier about having other parts of your identity and having other aspects of your life to focus on. You can't take training so seriously. At the end of the day, lifting is a niche sport that not a lot of people do. It is a lot more popular now than it was 7 years ago, admittedly, but it is still a niche sport. It's still something that isn't enormous. Even at the highest level, people aren't getting paid to be professional powerlifters or to be competitive powerlifters. And so you probably still have to work, you still have to study. Even if you make your income from lifting, I guess like I do indirectly, through coaching and through my other lifting ventures, you still have to work. You still have other elements of your life. And if you take your training too seriously, that's going to really heavily take away from other areas of your life, but also it's going to heavily take away from your enjoyment from the sport. Because at the end of the day, you're doing powerlifting, you're doing this sport as a hobby, as a pastime, as something to do, spend on the weekends or do after work or whatever it is. It is something that should be enjoyable. And if you take it so seriously, if you put so much pressure on yourself, if you expect too much from yourself, it takes the joy away from it. I've seen many lifters come and go in the sport because they've put too much pressure on themselves, they've taken it too seriously, and they just couldn't handle the psychological trauma, the psychological pain, the pressure, the self-imposed pressure, more importantly, to perform, to improve, to train, that exists. And yeah, like I said, it's self-imposed. It's pressure that they've put on themselves. And that only comes from taking it so seriously, from thinking that it is more important than it really is. Of course, lifting is important. To you, if you're watching this video, lifting is probably very important to you. It's very important to me, but be cautious with it. Don't take it too seriously. Have fun. Have a laugh in the gym. Hang out with your mates. Make it a social thing. Really enjoy your lifting journey, and you have to enjoy the process that is lifting. Point number 9 is give back to the sport of powerlifting. Powerlifting has done amazing things for me in my life. It has given me purpose. It has given me everything that I have today. Some of my closest friends I've met through lifting. Some of my greatest memories, my greatest moments in my life have come through lifting. It's given me a career. It's given me, I guess, everything. And personally, I feel indebted to lifting. That's kind of why I feel so passionate about coaching, about getting people involved, about teaching people how to referee, how to spot and load, how to run competitions, blah, 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 because I want to give back to the community, to give back to lifters, to give back to the sport, because lifting has done so much for me. And if you're watching this video, lifting's probably doing something for you. It's a positive effect on your life. And you owe it to the sport, you owe it to your training partners, to your friends, to other people to get involved. Even if you don't train in a powerlifting gym, even if you're not directly involved, I guess, in the local competitions, send an email to your local meet director, or give them a phone call and say, hey, can I jump in? Can I help out? Is there anything I can do? Can I spot and load? Can I learn to ref? Can I help pack up? Can I help move some equipment? Whatever it might be, get involved and give back. Because this sport is, especially at the grassroots level, at the local level, it is primarily a voluntary sport. Meet directors make next to no money, depending where, what the exact structure is of competitions in your area and in your country. But yeah, there's not a lot of money going around, and a lot of times meet directors and people are doing this out of I guess love, and out of from a point of view of from being voluntary. So give back so that other people can enjoy the beauty that is lifting, to enjoy the experiences that you too have experienced yourself. Okay, my last point is avoid comparing yourself to others on social media and to the elite on social media. Now, I'm no psychologist, but the perils of social media are very deep. And if you compare yourself to what the elite are doing, to what others are doing, it will only detract from your lifting. By definition, these guys these elite lifters on social media that are at the top of the game and they're still improving, they are in that top 0.5, 0.1 percentile. They have a higher response to training than you probably do. They have better genetics than you do. They probably have better predisposition to training than you do. They probably have, they're probably more likely to adhere to their diet. They're probably more dedicated. They're probably, like, every element that it takes to be an elite powerlifter, they're probably at a higher point than you, both voluntary things as well as things that were out of their control, like their genetics. And that is totally okay. It is okay to not be an elite powerlifter. You don't have to be at the top to enjoy lifting, to enjoy your experience, to get something out of the sport. And comparing yourself to these guys will only detract from your experience. Does that mean you should go and unfollow these top lifters? No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. What I'm saying is try not to let their experience take away from your very own. When I see top lifters training and competing on social media, Instagram and YouTube, I find it inspiring. I see, just the other day I saw Joy Namani deadlifted 220 kilos. Russell, he squatted 700 pounds. Amanda Ann squatted 257. Jamal Brown deadlifted 1,050 pounds. I'm seeing these guys and girls at this high level, and I'm just reminded, like, holy shit, human potential is so high, and I'm not at the end of my road. Like, I can, personally in my journey, I can keep getting better, I can keep getting stronger, I can keep improving. I don't find those elite guys discouraging to me at all. There was a time when that was the case, when I found it hard to accept that, my records were getting broken or people were surpassing me that started after me. I found that hard to swallow. And, I don't know if I have a clear way to say, stop letting that happen to you, because it's very natural. But just be aware of it. Don't let it be something that that takes away from the journey and the joy that is your lifting, because regardless of what other people are doing, you can keep improving, you can enjoy and take something from lifting. Okay, that's it. That's everything that I wanted to say today. In coming up with the list today, I actually had so many ideas. I feel like I could talk about this topic forever, but I tried to keep it summarized and short, and try to link some of the ideas together. If there are ideas that you have that you want to share with your fellow lifter, leave them in the comment section below. If you've got any questions or if you've got any disagreements, leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your experience, your opinion, your point of view. And yeah, just to conclude, to all you junior lifters out there, remember that this is a long journey, and powerlifting is a great sport. It's a great hobby. It's a great thing to be involved with. Enjoy it, have fun, think long term, and really appreciate the fact that that you've got many years of lifting ahead of you, and you should have many years of lifting ahead of you, and that you want to, maximize your enjoyment, your success, your progress, and the journey that you're going to be on. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Instead, you should try to have another dimension. Fuck, I'm gonna start that again. This has all been shit. Okay, point 2. I was 20 years old. Oh, fucking hell. Wait, what the fuck am I saying? I think 5 or 6. Okay, the garage is opening, so I'm just gonna have to fucking wait for that to stop, and I'm gonna start a new clip.